Question number 19. How much faith do I need in order to be healed? All right. I know what faith is. I got 3 sources for faith. Check. I can kind of maybe gauge how my faith is. It's not about effort. It's surrender. Faith comes through surrender, not effort. I wish you'd say that 1,000 times this week. Faith comes through surrender, not effort. How much faith do I need in order to be healed? Not a lot. You simply need to put the measure of faith that you have been given into action. As Hudson Taylor said, you do not need a great faith, but faith in a great God. You remember Nate and Tara Beal? Their first 2 kids, Taylor and Hudson, right? If you never make that connection. Hudson Taylor was a famous missionary, one of the most famous missionaries of the modern era. And so Nate and Tara named their children after Hudson Taylor, little Taylor and Hudson, who are both miracle children. Doctor told both of them that, told Nate and Tara before both of those children were born that Tara wouldn't be able to conceive. And the very first time that we prayed as a group about a healing was back in Indiana. We laid hands on Tara in Ken's house in Crown Point on 93rd Avenue. We all circled around and said, we've never done this before. Here we go. Laid hands after all the treatments, after they had spent so much. And little Taylor was born. And then after Taylor was born, they said, great, she's a miracle child. You'll never have another one. And so the elders downstairs, right here in this basement, downstairs, we circled around. Todd was there and Mike was there. I think the wives were there as well. I don't know. We all circled around Tara and we said, Lord, we've seen you do it once, now do it again. And little Hudson was born. How much faith do I need in order to be healed? Not a lot. You simply need to put the measure of faith that you have been given into action. All of you have been given a measure of faith. All of you have some level of faith. Put that level of faith into action. Excuse me. And that's what the Lord requires. So let's look at some verses about that. Romans 12:3. I just took a little snippet of the verse so you can see where I got that phrase from. According to the measure of faith that God has assigned. In that passage, which is about spiritual gifts, Paul teaches that all of us have been given a measure of faith. Every one of us. And that measure of faith produces different gifts. The measure of faith is according to the gifts that we have. Okay? So the idea there is that it's different for everyone. We've all been given a measure of faith, and we simply need to use the faith that we have been given. Jesus said to him, oh, this is so great. He says, a man came to Jesus and said, if you can help me, if you can, Jesus. The only time anybody ever said this. If you can, would you please heal my son? Jesus said, if you can. It was so great. I love that. If I can, if you can. He just shot it right back at him. All things are possible for the one who believes. Immediately, the father of the child cried out and said, our favorite prayer of all, I believe, help my unbelief, right? Because as soon as you say, I believe, because there was a promise there, right? The promise is all things are possible for one who believes. That's the promise. Now, does he have faith to believe the promise? If he has faith to believe the promise, then he's going to see the answer, right? There's the promise. He said, I do believe. He couldn't even get the words out of his mouth. And all of a sudden he was just consumed with, but I have a lot of unbelief too. Right? I do believe. Oh, help my unbelief. The Lord did help his unbelief. The Lord helped his unbelief by giving him a miracle. And he was able to climb right up that miracle and grow in his faith. The miracle was that his son was healed. A little later in the story. What a beautiful, encouraging story for all of us, right? Because all of us at times are like, yeah, I want to be great in faith. And then you get in the prayer closet and you're like, I hardly believe anything. I don't know if you can do anything, Lord. You're really not going to do this, are you? I mean, I hope you would, but you probably won't. I believe. Help my unbelief. That's okay. That's a good place to start. It's a good place to start, and God will even reward that. Luke 17, the apostle said to the Lord, increase our faith. All right. So the Lord's talking about faith. Every time he heals somebody, not every time, but oftentimes when he heals somebody, he says, according to your faith be it done. The apostles are like, yeah, we want more faith. Lord, increase our faith. What does the Lord say? If you had faith like the grain of a mustard seed, you could say to this mulberry tree, be uprooted and planted in the sea, and it would obey you. Now, we can pull out a ton of teaching out of that statement right there. I'm not going to. I'm just simply going to say this. They said, give us more faith. He said, it's not about more faith. It's about using the faith that you have. Because even a little bit of faith in a great God can move mountains. Even a little bit of faith through surrender can move mountains and can uproot trees and plant them into, what is it? The sea? Who plants a tree in the water? I don't know. We'd have to talk about that a little bit more to really fully wrap our minds around that. But nonetheless, he's saying something that's impossible right here, right? He says move a mountain in another gospel. He says plant a tree into the sea in this gospel. Both things that are impossible. Moving mountains, planting trees into seas, uprooting them, and just saying it through. Okay, you get the idea. We want more faith. Use the faith that you have. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. It's not through effort. It's through surrender. Not through effort, but through surrender.